Gaius was an introverted, overpowered sage living in a world where people were randomly blessed by the gods with one of 4 crests. Each crest gave insane power, but this man had already collected 3 of them like Pokemon cards. He had achieved everything in life except understanding women, obviously, and was so strong that he could erase a full-grown dragon in seconds. But since his ego had no limits, he wanted the 4th crest. Too bad the gods only handed those out at birth. So, like the absolute menace he was, he decided to reincarnate himself using a forbidden spell, sacrificing all 3 of his crests just to start over. 2 billion years later, he came back as a teenager named Matthias. He finally had the 4th crest, but life hit him with the biggest L. That legendary crest he wanted so badly was now downgraded by society and renamed the Crest of Failure. But our man Matthias didn't care. He wanted to see how this new world worked, so he set his goal to enter the Magic Academy and get stronger again. While traveling to the capital with a merchant, he suddenly sensed danger. A Calamity-class monster showed up, but before the merchant could even panic, Matthias deleted the thing like it was a fly, proving that even with the so-called weakest crest, he still broke the game. After arriving in the peaceful capital, Matthias visited an armory shop in search of a good sword. Inside, he found a loud adventurer named Alma begging the shop owner to fix her friend's magical sword. She was so noisy that Matthias couldn't focus on anything, so he decided to help just to shut her up. He approached her and explained that he could enchant the sword. When he showed his 4th crest, Alma hesitated because everyone knew users of that crest sucked at everything. But she still trusted him and even handed over a rare, expensive magic stone. After introductions, Alma's friend Luri arrived. The moment Matthias saw her, he basically fell in love on the spot. This man, a 40-year-old ancient soul inside a 12-year-old body, suddenly fixed his posture and tried to act classy. Alma was annoyed because this dude didn't treat her with even half that respect earlier. Luri introduced herself and casually mentioned she was single, because apparently she liked this reincarnated, baby-faced grandpa too. Matthias quickly enchanted her sword. Luri tested it and sliced a table in half like it was jelly, shocking everyone. The fact that Matthias did that enchantment in seconds made it clear he was something special. Soon, the 3 of them showed up at the Magic Academy for the entrance exams. Luri went first in the swordsmanship test. With her new OP sword, she easily beat the examiner. Then Matthias stepped up. Since he was the one who enchanted Luri's weapon, a special examiner was assigned to him. This guy knew Matthias's father, Castor, and wanted to see what kind of skills Castor had passed on. He told Matthias that if he impressed him, he would personally vouch for his acceptance at the academy. Matthias didn't need that offer, because main characters always pass every test, but he accepted anyway. They fought, exchanged blows, and Matthias instantly took control. Within moments, he disarmed the examiner and forced him to surrender. Next was the magic control test. Luri destroyed all her targets with perfect accuracy. Matthias realized people in this era didn't know how to use magic without chanting spells. Since the Crest of Failure had terrible range, he thought his magic wouldn't even reach the target, so he used a more explosive spell. The shockwave alone destroyed every target. After passing all exams, Matthias officially joined the academy, along with Luri and Alma. Matthias was completely mesmerized by Luri's beauty, which was technically very concerning because she was a minor, and he was an ancient man in disguise, but he ignored that small detail. During the opening ceremony, the headmaster Edward gave a short speech telling students to improve their skills if they wanted to amount to anything. Before leaving, he called Matthias to his office. Matthias assumed he was already in trouble, but instead, the professors wanted to talk about his talent. Edward explained that Matthias used magic without chanting, a technique lost for hundreds of years. He wanted Matthias to teach wordless casting to the academy's professors and later to the students, so they could prove in the upcoming inter-school competition that this method was stronger. Matthias agreed. After teaching the instructors the basics, he joined his own classroom as a special guest instructor. When he demonstrated wordless casting, the whole class was shocked. Some students were so impressed that they even suspected he might be a demon. Matthias started training them. Alma showed great talent and quickly adapted. Luri struggled to use the technique and eventually ran out of magic. Matthias grabbed her hand and explained that the only way to help was by transferring his magic to her through contact. Sure, buddy. Everyone could tell he enjoyed that part a little too much. A month later, the day of the inter-school competition finally arrived. Matthias, Luri, and Alma gathered to plan their strategy. Luri prayed that the opponent academy wouldn't pull their usual stunt with the so-called magically chosen ones. Apparently, those clowns always showed up whenever it looked like the second academy might finally win. Matthias didn't care at all. He was still the strongest sage alive, so he walked into the arena like he owned the place and faced 3 bullies from the first academy all by himself. The bullies immediately mocked him for having the weakest crest, acting tough even though every one of them looked like they failed character creation. Matthias ignored their trash talk and quietly analyzed them. Then he sensed something wrong. One of the guys had an aura that screamed danger. He realized the dude was a demon disguised as a student. Without wasting time, Matthias deleted the 2 human bullies first so he could focus on the real threat. When he attacked the demon, he noticed something even worse. The demon was using wordless casting, something no human in this era was supposed to know. Matthias quickly connected the dots. The demons had spent centuries infiltrating the First Academy and brainwashing the system so human mages would stay weak. That explained why wordless spells were lost knowledge for everyone except him. He shattered the demon's disguise disguise, exposed him in front of everyone, and eliminated him. While the professors inspected the corpse, Luri ran to Matthias and hugged him tight. She only realized afterward how clingy she was being and backed away in embarrassment. Later, Matthias and Headmaster Edward were summoned to the royal castle. The king praised Matthias for exposing the demon and wanted to reward him. He even tried offering land and properties, but couldn't make it public because it would reveal the demon infiltration. So he handed Matthias a double enchanted sword from the royal treasury. Matthias casually revealed that he was the one who originally crafted that exact sword in his past life. Instead of accepting it, he asked for something way more valuable: the rights to gather all resources found inside the kingdom's dungeons. Matthias was confident the king didn't know how priceless dungeon treasures used to be 1,000 years ago. As predicted, the king approved the request without hesitation. Then, the king pulled out the next bombshell. Their kingdom's top 4 mages, the 4 chosen ones, had vanished right after the demon was exposed. The king had already figured out they were demons too, which meant there were even more imposters hiding among humans. Matthias concluded that the demons no longer cared about blending in. Since the strongest of them were revealed, they would probably unite and launch a full war. Based on his calculations, they had about 3 months before the demons attacked. He advised the king to cover the entire kingdom with a massive barrier. If all Academy students worked together and used a divine artifact, they could make it permanent. He also insisted that wordless casting should be taught again. The king, seeing that this kid was the only one acting sane, put full trust in Matthias and appointed him as the official commander for the coming war. Soon after, Matthias went to the royal treasury in search of rare gemstones for the barrier. He found a powerful sword he had forged in his previous life and decided to use it as the barrier's core. He also took an enchanted pendant that boosted experience gained in battle. Matthias returned to the academy to train students in wordless casting and told Alma and Luri about the barrier plan. But to finish it, he needed more materials, so he planned a dungeon trip and invited both girls. They hesitated, not because they feared him, but because they worried they'd hold him back. Alma admitted she was only good at archery and thought it was useless in close combat. Matthias shut that idea down instantly and demonstrated how powerful archery becomes when magic is infused into arrows. Luri, of course, immediately wanted to learn it too and used the moment to get extra hand-holding time with Matthias. Once the girls were confident, Matthias took them to the dungeon located right underneath the academy. Like any stereotypical fantasy world, it had multiple floors, and since they were on the first floor, he assumed the monsters here were weak. In fact, he was so cocky about it that he left to fetch a monster himself and returned with a tiny shell creature for Alma to practice on. Alma infused magic into her arrow and cracked the shell in one shot. She kept training until she could even curve her arrows mid-flight. Feeling confident, she wandered off to hunt monsters alone and collect Magistone drops. With Alma gone, Luri used the chance to get close to Matthias and asked him to help her become stronger. Matthias agreed to teach her enchantment since she relied on pure magic. But before starting, he casually punched the dungeon wall and shattered it so he could use the bricks. Luri was stunned because, normally, dungeon walls were supposed to be indestructible. Matthias showed her how to refine dungeon bricks using multiple spells at once. Luri successfully produced pure iron and mithril ore. Together, they enchanted new weapons. Alma returned and was shocked to see Luri wielding a sword strong enough to break walls. Luri even enchanted Alma's gear, making both girls fully equipped. Seeing how strong they had become, Matthias announced that they were ready to skip ahead to the 10th floor. The 2 girls were stunned, but excited, and Matthias confidently prepared to lead them deeper into the dungeon. The 10th floor of the dungeon looked nothing like the first. Alma and Luri handled the tiny monsters roaming around with ease. Every kill gave them experience points, and thanks to Matthias's pendant boosting their gains, they leveled up fast. While they were clearing the floor, a dungeon dog suddenly lunged at them. Matthias didn't move a muscle. He believed the girls were strong enough now, and they proved him right by defeating the monster with clean teamwork. As night approached, Matthias set up a small barrier for the girls to rest inside. Then he announced he was heading to the 25th floor alone to gather materials needed for the kingdom-wide barrier. Alma argued that only one party had ever reached that floor, a group of 30 mages protected by someone called Gaius, the god of magic. Matthias was confused, wondering since when his past life self got promoted to god status. He assumed it had to be a different Gaius, shrugged it off, and headed down anyway. On the 25th floor, while collecting adamantite, he sensed an extremely powerful monster deeper below. Confident in his past life experience, he dove straight into the lower floors and wiped out every normal monster instantly. This forced the boss, an arch serpent, to reveal herself. The serpent's attacks were so deadly that even Matthias could die in a single hit. Its venom corroded the ground and poisoned the air, but Matthias wasn't scared. He was excited. This was his first real fight in this life. He let himself get swallowed, then triggered an explosive spell inside its mouth. The serpent tanked it like it was nothing, so Matthias drew his sword, pumped it with massive magic, and unleashed a dimension-splitting slash. The shockwave shook the dungeon so hard that Alma and Luri, still on the 10th floor, almost had a heart attack. 2 demons hiding far away sensed the massive burst of power too. They wondered which lunatic human managed to release that kind of magic. With the mission done, Matthias and the girls went to the Adventurers Guild to sell their loot. The receptionist took one look at Matthias's crest and immediately underestimated the party. Matthias shut her up by dropping the severed head of the arch serpent on the counter like a horror movie prop. He even sold its giant Magistone, which was rare enough to be considered a national treasure, but he didn't care. He needed an even stronger one for the kingdom barrier. The receptionist panicked, unsure if the guild could even afford it. Eventually, she handed them 750 gold. On their way back to town, Matthias suddenly sensed a sinister energy heading toward the Magic Academy. Two demons were searching for the human who killed their comrade. Judging their power levels, Matthias realized one of them was stronger than the demon he defeated earlier. He decided to take that one himself and left the weaker one to Alma and Luri, assuring them they were ready. Matthias attacked first, ambushing the weaker demon, but the demon blocked him with ease, showing the huge gap between them. The stronger demon, Ashrol, immediately fired a deadly spell at Matthias. Matthias neutralized it, stole control of the flames, and sent them right back at Ashrol. He used a planned strategy to distract both demons long enough for Alma to fire an enchanted arrow. It hit the weaker demon and disrupted his magic, slowing him down. The demon panicked and targeted the girls, splitting away from Ashrol, exactly what Matthias wanted. Ashrol prepared a massive attack, but Matthias destroyed his casting circle before he could finish, flexing his superior knowledge. Enraged, Ashrol pulled out a sword. Matthias wasn't stronger physically, but his past life combat experience let him dodge everything and gain the upper hand. Realizing he was losing, Ashrol tried to flee. Matthias trapped him using an occlusion orb and knocked him unconscious. Ashrol crashed into the streets below, revealing his demon form to the public and causing chaos. Matthias then watched Alma and Luri continue their fight. Alma kept hitting the demon with Luri's enchanted arrows. Then she and Luri hid between buildings to avoid counterattacks. Matthias was proud. They were using smart tactics. Since they had proven their worth, Matthias ended the fight. He told the weaker demon his boss was already defeated, then fired a light spell strong enough to kill demons instantly. The demon tried to flee, but Alma shot one of his wings, and Matthias finished him off. The townspeople were shocked that 3 academy students had defeated 2 demons. Matthias, the world's strongest introvert, refused to deal with the attention and immediately grabbed the girls and flew away. Later, the king summoned them again to reward their victory. Alma and Luri asked for money, while Matthias requested access to as many dungeons as possible. The king agreed, but before he could continue, Matthias suddenly detected a demon spying through a magic crystal. He hacked the connection, sent a blast through it, and made the demon scream. The king recognized the voice as Urhart, former captain of the Mage Order. Matthias traced the location to an abandoned village. He planned to go there, but couldn't teleport long distances because of the crest of failure. So he went with Plan B, find a legendary creature. He took the girls to the dark mountains where they found a dragon sleeping peacefully. Matthias announced he was going to use the dragon as transportation, which horrified the girls. The dragon, Iris, was infamous for destroying kingdoms in the past, but Matthias didn't care. He beat and tamed her in his previous life. He approached her calmly and spoke in dragon language, which instantly broke her. Iris realized this tiny 12-year-old was actually Gaius, the mad sage who blew himself up 1,000 years ago. Terrified, she begged for her life. Matthias explained the situation and politely asked for a ride. Iris tried blaming him for the state of her torn wings, claiming the explosions from his death ruined half the world and shredded her wings too. Matthias didn't care about ancient history. He just healed her wings on the spot, making her flight ready again. Before Matthias introduced Iris to Alma and Luri, he warned the dragon not to mention anything about his reincarnation. Iris agreed, switched to human language, and introduced herself, shocking the girls since they did not expect a giant kingdom-destroying dragon to suddenly speak like a polite auntie.
What?
With everyone acquainted, they took off toward the demon village on Iris's back. As Iris prepared to boost her speed, Matthias stopped her and asked how fast she planned to go. Iris casually replied that she wanted to fly at the same speed Gaius's old friend Reuter could handle. Luri immediately recognized that name as the God of Swords, confusing Matthias again. He still couldn't understand why every god in this era shared names with him and his past life buddies. He brushed it off and explained to Iris that normal humans like Alma and Luri would explode if she flew at that speed. So Iris slowed down and continued at a gentle pace. When they reached the demon village, Matthias spotted a demon guard outside the creepy-looking palace. He silently took the demon out in one clean slash. Iris quietly thanked fate she hadn't annoyed Matthias earlier. Matthias sensed 2 powerful presences inside the palace. One was clearly Urhart, the ex-mage captain, but the second aura belonged to something much stronger. Matthias prepared to enter, but Iris crashed headfirst into the palace wall because she forgot how to land after 1,000 years. She tore half the wall apart, giving them a nice, open entrance. Inside, Matthias used telepathy to give Luri and Alma instructions. He told them to take the offensive this time, promising to support from the shadows. With his reassurance, the girls moved forward. Matthias sensed 2 demons hiding under concealment spells. Since someone could only hide by staying in a spot with 0 magic, Luri searched around until she found a winged demon crouching behind a table. Matthias dispelled the concealment, revealing Urhart, who didn't even notice he was exposed. Alma immediately fired an enchanted arrow straight into his forehead. The arrow didn't hurt Urhart, it only pissed him off. After seeing the trio, he guessed the boy was Matthias, but doubted the kid could reach the demon village so quickly. Matthias answered with pure violence, proving his identity through skill alone. Alma supported him by landing arrows in Urhart's back. Even though they pierced through, they barely damaged him. Urhart mocked the girls as useless insects until the poison from Alma's arrows kicked in. He suddenly felt his body shutting down and realized the harmless-looking attacks were rotting him from the inside. Refusing to accept defeat, Urhart transformed into his true form of misfortune, a final resort demon evolution that traded his life for enormous power. Alma and Luri couldn't stay near this form safely, but Matthias had no issues. He secretly stacked even more poison on Urhart, and once the demon weakened, Alma finished him off with a clean headshot. With the weaker demon gone, Matthias told the girls to regroup outside with Iris while he handled the real threat. To expose the second demon, Matthias crushed several magic stones to flood the area with mana and disperse the concealment mist. The hidden demon appeared, having literally turned himself into that mist. He praised Matthias for figuring it out, but warned that the boy would die here. Moving at near light speed, the demon attacked. Matthias blocked with a confident smile until the demon instantly sped up and severed Matthias's right arm. The demon smirked, assuming Matthias was finished. But Matthias calmly analyzed every movement, used one of his cheat-level skills, and reattached his arm as if it were a detachable toy. He had preloaded healing spells into his limbs before the fight, just in case. With the analysis complete, Matthias dodged every attack with minimal effort. Realizing he stood no chance, the demon attempted the same life-sacrifice transformation as Urhart's. Before it could complete, Matthias erased the ritual with another broken ability. Panicking, the demon turned back into mist to flee. Matthias dispelled it again, making the demon question why this kid had cheat codes for everything. With its will broken, the demon was forced to absorb so much magic that it exploded. In the crater, a massive purple crystal remained. Luri jumped off Iris to check on Matthias and immediately hugged him like he was her personal comfort pillow. Alma blocked the moment with her usual third wheel energy and asked what the crystal was. Matthias explained it was a dragon vein pillar, a core planted by demons to harvest planet energy and summon boss monsters near the capital. The summoning had already begun. Thankfully, the huge explosion earlier had shifted the spawn point 10 kilometers away from the city. Still, the monsters needed to be dealt with. Matthias prepared to return and request help from the Magic Academy. On the way, he had a bright idea. He suggested adding Iris to his his team, by making her join the academy as a student in human form. Iris shapeshifted into a crimson lolly without hesitation, and the group continued toward the city. When Matthias and his group returned to the city, he reported to Headmaster Edward that he had taken down the demons targeting the capital. Then he introduced Iris and politely asked for her to be accepted as a transfer student. Edward refused to bend rules, explaining that even the strongest monster in history didn't get special treatment. So Iris had to take the entrance exam like everyone else. Matthias asked for permission to supervise the test to make sure Iris didn't accidentally sneeze and erase half the city. During the exam the next day, Iris started with swordsmanship. She tapped the examiner once and launched the poor man into the sky like he belonged in a Team Rocket ending scene. Then she took the magic control test and showed insane power, but failed to hit the tiny target. So she copied Matthias' strategy from his exam and used shockwaves instead. This completely blew up the training grounds. The headmaster almost failed her on the spot for being way too overpowered, but Matthias insisted. Edward eventually gave up, allowing yet another chaos generator into his academy. A few days later, Matthias resumed gathering barrier materials. Academy students were assigned as miners to dig for magic crystals. But progress was slow because most lacked the crest of glory, needed for physical strength-based jobs. Matthias suggested asking the First Academy for help, since most of their students had that crest. Edward doubted it would work. Those two academies hated each other. Still, he tried. With help from the king, they summoned Facus, the First Academy's headmaster. The moment the two headmasters met, they started arguing about which academy was superior. Edward didn't care about childish ego wars, he just wanted the barrier built. He requested students with the crest of glory. Facus refused, claiming the Second Academy was inferior. Edward reminded him that the Second Academy had crushed them in the competition, and that their past wins were only thanks to demons disguised as elite students. Facus still refused to accept reality. So Matthias stepped in and suggested another competition. Winner gets anything they want. Facus agreed, but only if Matthias and his friends didn't participate. Matthias accepted and told Edward not to worry, promising to shut down the First Academy's loudmouths again. For the competition, the First Academy went all in, sending dozens of students. The Second Academy sent only 5, and none of them even had top-tier crests. Yet thanks to wordless casting and actual skill, they obliterated every First Academy student before the enemies could even chant a spell. The match was so one-sided that Facus still refused to accept defeat. He accused Edward of sending more gifted monsters like Matthias. Edward explained that every student knew wordless casting now, but Facus ignored him and demanded that the harmless-looking girl from the Second Academy fight. She picked up a sword and accidentally bent the metal like a pool noodle. Facus finally realized the Second Academy was full of quiet monsters. Even then, he kept complaining, until the king himself arrived and ordered guards to take Facus away for being an embarrassment. After that, the king commanded both academies to work together. First Academy students joined in mining Mithril, while Matthias, Alma, and Luri returned to the dungeon to find a huge Magistone, at least half a meter long, for the barrier core. Matthias wasn't worried. All they needed was the right monster. Iris had a massive Magistone herself, but Matthias promised he wasn't going to kill her for it. Instead, he decided to summon a monster. He helped Luri draw the magic circle as she focused so hard she started making weird happy noises. Iris, unable to control her power, poured too much magic into it. The circle summoned a monster so strong it began destroying the dungeon floor. Everyone ran for their lives while the beast chased them into an open area, exactly where Matthias wanted it. He used Iris as bait to buy Luri time to infuse Alma's arrows with toxins. Meanwhile, he set up magic blocking circles to prevent the monster from using dragon breath. Iris taunted it, making the creature unleash its full breath attack. Matthias manipulated the spell and turned it back on the monster, eliminating it completely. They extracted a massive Magistone from its corpse and took it back to the academy. Now that their party had grown to 4 members, Matthias decided to focus on teamwork. He created a special training ground for Iris to practice controlling her ridiculous power. With Matthias's guidance, Iris learned how to dodge attacks and move like a normal human instead of a walking natural disaster. Matthias also taught Luri advanced enchantment techniques. To repay him, she forged a golden sword for him with 8 enchantments packed inside. She enchanted Alma's, Iris's, and her own weapons too, shocking everyone with the destructive results. Once the girls were fully loaded with overpowered equipment, Matthias fought all 3 of them at once, and still beat them easily. A few days later, Headmaster Edward gathered all students and officially began the operation to erect the massive barrier around the capital. Everyone worked hard, channeling magic and placing crystals. Suddenly, Matthias sensed demonic energy outside the city. Judging by the aura, he believed a demon army was preparing to teleport directly into the kingdom. But he couldn't handle them himself since he was busy stabilizing the giant barrier. So he told Alma and Luri to take care of the intruders, showing how much trust he had in them. When the girls reached the location, they found a massive portal ripping open in the sky. That meant demons were planning to use it as their shortcut to the capital. Luri immediately began crafting the strongest offensive arrows she could for Alma. Their random classmate was also somehow there, contributing absolutely nothing. The moment the first demon stepped out, Alma landed an arrow straight in his heart, dropping him instantly. Another demon jumped through and attacked, but Luri sliced him cleanly in half with one swing, like she was cutting watermelon. With the demon's defeat, the portal faded. Alma and Luri assumed the job was done. But then, a massive burst of magic rose from the capital, making them realize the portal attack was only a distraction. They rushed back to Matthias, who told them to head to the second academy immediately because he predicted the real portal would appear there. The girls arrived just in time. Students and Headmaster Edward were already preparing to defend the academy. The first demon burst from the portal and bombarded everyone with a massive fire spell. The demon smirked, thinking he had wiped out every student. But when the dust settled, the students were still standing behind a huge magic shield. The students launched attacks back at the demon, but he floated too high for their spells to reach. Alma stepped forward and fired her enchanted arrow, but the demon caught it with his bare hands like it was a toy. Realizing brute force wouldn't work, Alma looked to Luri, who was struggling to complete a complex magic circle. She kept messing up, but everyone bought her time by repeatedly attacking the demon. Inspired by her classmates' effort, Luri finally created the deadliest magical arrow she could. Alma fired it, opening the gap the students needed to unleash their spells. Together, they defeated the demon. But more demons emerged from the portal, each one as strong as the last. Alma continued fighting non-stop, holding the line until their walking cheat code, Matthias, could arrive. Before things got bloody, Matthias appeared. The barrier work finished. He faced all the demons alone. He even gave them a chance to beg for mercy, but they decided they'd rather die with pride. So, Matthias granted their wish and shredded them all at full power. After the battle, Matthias celebrated with his friends and credited Luri for enchanting his sword. He clearly lied just to make her blush, but everyone let it slide. With preparations complete, Matthias went to the barrier site and placed the giant Magistone as the core. The barrier activated instantly, lighting up the sky like a festival. Even though the barrier was up, Matthias reminded Alma and Luri that the monsters spawned from the corrupted dragon vein were still outside the city. So the second academy students went to the front line to clear them out before they reached nearby towns. Matthias's traps destroyed the first wave, giving the students an easy win. Matthias waited on the city wall for the second wave, which included boss monsters. He teleported with his friends to support the students. He even threw Iris at a giant like she was a missile. Iris one-punched it into the dirt. Alma and Luri followed, destroying the rest. The final wave arrived with a void ear, a monster that grew stronger by eating others. It was basically a tornado with teeth. Matthias still looked unbothered. He intentionally overfed it with Magistones to force it into the form of a mythical wolf. With teamwork, the girls distracted the beast while Matthias attacked, but the wolf regenerated rapidly, healing every wound. So Matthias cast a continuous damage spell that paralyzed it long enough for him to behead it. The next day, Matthias told the headmaster he wanted to leave the city. He explained that he'd handled all threats here and now wanted to travel the country to destroy more corrupted dragon veins. Edward approved and even gave him a special scholarship so he could rely on academy support if needed. Alma and Luri insisted on joining him, so they received scholarships as well. Soon after, Matthias and his team left the capital. The girls were thrilled. It was their first time leaving home. While traveling, Matthias said their next destination should be Melkia, a dungeon city with hundreds of floors. He was shocked that humans actually lived on top of a dungeon full of dangerous monsters. That idea didn't exist in his past life. Alma said the city was lively and filled with adventurers. If they followed the long route around the forest, it would take days. Instead, Matthias chose to go directly through the famous forest where intelligent monsters were said to lurk. Even though Iris could literally fly them to Melkia, Matthias still chose the risky route. They soon entered the eerie black forest, expecting smart monsters, but strangely the place was empty. No creatures in sight. Iris got hungry, so Luri suggested they stop and eat. Alma happily pulled out her rations, but Matthias stopped her, saying they should hunt fresh food instead. He wanted to eat and also use the chance to locate the so-called smart monsters of the forest. Knowing the girls would take forever to hunt anything, he left them and went ahead alone. While searching deeper in the forest, Matthias noticed he was being followed by clawless monsters moving with suspicious discipline. He instantly figured someone was controlling them, which meant a smart monster was nearby. He sensed the creature creeping up behind him and prepared for an attack. The legendary smart monster turned out to be a monkey, a normal monkey. Matthias was so disappointed he dragged its corpse back to the girls and told them to use it as meat. The girls looked horrified, so Matthias sighed and pulled out a giant wild boar from his storage instead. Luri refined iron straight from the ground and shaped it into a cooking pot. Iris ran off to collect firewood. Alma went searching for herbs, trying her best to seem useful, but when she came back and mixed everything, her cooking exploded like a landmine. Turns out her fire spells always detonate anything near ingredients. Even so, they managed to cook the boar. It looked good enough, so they ate it reluctantly. One bite later, they were shocked by how amazing it tasted. After the meal, Alma proudly served her special soup as dessert. The soup got her banned from cooking everywhere else, but Iris bravely tasted it. She immediately regretted her life choices, describing the soup as tasting like cat piss. Matthias reminded them that monsters were avoiding the forest simply because Iris's overwhelming aura scared everything away. Since the monkey was apparently the boss monster of the forest, Matthias decided they should just continue to Melkia City. Before sunset, they finally reached the Dungeon City. They expected a lively town but found a nearly empty place, quiet and eerie. As they walked in, a magical lamppost lit up, and Matthias noticed the magic flow was connected to a dragon vein pillar. Then a shopkeeper yelled from the shadows, warning them to stay away from the lamp. He said the lamps explode often and have already killed 10 people. Right on cue, the lamppost exploded, but Matthias shielded his party in time. Luri snapped at the shopkeeper, demanding to know why the city used such dangerous devices. The shopkeeper whispered that the city lord ordered it. He explained that they once used magistones for lighting, but the lord declared magistones a valuable export and banned citizens from using them. Matthias instantly realized this lord was the reason the city was half abandoned. The shopkeeper confirmed it, adding that the lord had forced most citizens into the 10th floor of the dungeon to fight a powerful monster. Matthias mentally labeled the guy as the dumbest lord alive and decided he would fix this mess. He headed to the Adventurer Guild to get dungeon permits. The receptionist warned him that the guild no longer issues permits. The lord does, and he forces adventurers into dangerous tasks in exchange. Most end up dead. Matthias didn't care about the danger and asked the girls if they were willing to join him. The girls agreed instantly, saying they would follow him anywhere, so he requested 4 permits. Right then, a woman rushed into the guild, reporting a massive monster attack that left many adventurers injured, and she begged for a healer, but the guild had none left because the lord drove them out, calling them a waste of resources. Matthias immediately volunteered. He went to the church, where injured people lay bleeding with almost no bandages left. He asked why a city full of adventurers had no healers, and the woman explained everything. Matthias's hatred for the lord grew even stronger. As he began treating patients, 3 so-called healers tried to stop him, saying a kid couldn't just barge in. Matthias told the loud old man to shut up and stepped over him. Using his crest of failure, the best crest for extreme healing, Matthias fixed internal organs and blood vessels like it was nothing. The healers realized he was the real deal and began helping him. After hours of work, Matthias healed everyone and earned the respect of the elder healer. Matthias then asked about the city's previous lord. The elder healer said the former lord died suddenly in his sleep despite being in perfect health, and the new lord took over, ruining everything. Matthias suspected demons killed the previous lord and decided to meet the current one. He wrote a hidden message to the headmaster so the king would learn what was happening in Melkia, then hid it under a fake letter to avoid suspicion. That night, the group stayed in one hotel room. Matthias and Luri lay awake all night, nervously realizing they were sleeping in the same room. They tried calming themselves, pretending the separate beds made it normal, but neither managed to sleep. They spent the whole night overthinking like awkward teenagers. The next morning, Matthias and his party entered the dungeon and returned with the remains of the strongest monster they could find, trading it to the receptionist for cash. The receptionist failed to give Matthias his permit because she had to show the monster loot to the city's lord first. The moment the fat, greasy lord heard that Matthias defeated the dungeon boss, he panicked. Instead of thanking him, the clown sent a group of bandits to kill Matthias's party. Matthias already predicted this childish move, so he calmly waited for the lord's next mistake. While walking through the streets, he noticed a group of shady men spying on them. He used telepathy to warn the girls and told them to act normal so he could spring his trap. After luring the bandits into a narrow alley, Matthias cast a concealment spell that made him and the girls vanish like ghosts. The bandits freaked out, confused about how a squad of kids disappeared right in front of them. Matthias then casually walked up to them, pretending not to know anything, and asked for directions to his own inn. They told him the way, and Matthias immediately asked how they knew where he and his friends were staying. The bandits froze, realizing they were caught. They grabbed Matthias and pretended to take him hostage. Matthias played along with the most deadpan face ever, saying he was terrified, even though his expression looked like someone bored in math class. Alma and Luri almost burst into laughter watching Maddie's Oscar-level terrible acting. From their intel, the bandits assumed Matthias was the weakest since the official report claimed he didn't help kill the dungeon boss. That's why they targeted him. They told Alma, Luri, and Iris to surrender and serve the Lord if they wanted their weak friend alive, said. Iris didn't give a damn. She walked up slowly, disarmed every bandit effortlessly, and then knocked out their leader with one punch. With the group defeated, Matthias cast a tracking spell on them so he could locate the real mastermind later. The next morning, Matthias received a letter from the king's messenger. He and the girls followed the messenger to a hidden location where the man explained that the meeting had to be kept secret from the city lord. The king had received Matthias's report about the corrupt lord and granted Matthias full permission to arrest him and bring him into custody. With that authority, Matthias used the tracking spell to locate the lord's base, and the group reached the palace and noticed something odd. No guards outside. Matthias activated his presence detection and sensed all the enemies gathered inside, waiting for an ambush. The messenger panicked and suggested they retreat, but Matthias wanted to see what cheap traps the Lord set up, so he kicked open the front door like a boss. The bandits inside couldn't believe Matthias walked in with only 5 people. They attacked immediately. Luri blocked their spells with her shield, earning praise from Matthias for her improved casting. But Matthias didn't want to waste time by letting Alma and Luri fight Small Fry, so he unleashed Divine Lightning and fried the entire group with one-hit knockouts. The messenger finally understood why the king told him never to anger this kid, assuming the Lord was upstairs. The messenger prepared to lead them up, but Matthias's detection spell revealed a hidden door leading underground. In the basement, the Lord was celebrating, fully convinced Matthias's group had been wiped out. When Matthias walked in, the Lord stared, confused about why a kid was standing there. Matthias found it hilarious that the Lord sent assassins after him without even knowing what he looked like. The girls entered behind Matthias and the Lord panicked. He summoned more henchmen. Matthias vaporized all of them instantly. With the messenger's help, he arrested the useless Lord. The Lord screamed that terrible things would happen if anyone touched him. Matthias rolled his eyes, knocked him out cold, and said he would handle whatever came next. Judging from the Lord's overconfidence, Matthias suspected demons were controlling him to access the Dragon Vein pillar inside the dungeon. If they activated it, the entire city could be blown off the map. Matthias ordered the messenger to return to the capital and report everything immediately. Right then, the ground shook violently. Demons had started tampering with the Dragon Vein, spawning monsters that were now heading straight for Melkia. Matthias calculated the monsters would reach the city in 2 hours. He rushed into the dungeon with the girls to stop the demons. Iris punched a hole through the dungeon wall and revealed the Dragon Vein. Matthias told the girls to stabilize it while he hunted down the demons hiding on the lower floor. Before leaving, he used another cheat skill that allowed them all to communicate telepathically over long distances. Luri focused her power to restore the Dragon Vein. Matthias cut through every monster blocking his path until he reached a demon standing inside a magic circle, clearly waiting for him. The demon confirmed Matthias was the one interfering with their plan and relayed the news to his superior. Matthias overheard the telepathic message and learned that the demon leader understood the full destructive power of the Dragon Veins. That only made Matthias more excited. He finally sensed a fight that wouldn't bore him. He approached the enemy. The demon blocked his first attack, and their battle began. As soon as the demon blocked Matthias's strike with a weird barrier, Matthias understood what was going on. The damn thing was designed specifically to counter the Crest of Failure. That meant the demon boss already predicted Matthias would show up in the city. The demon smirked like he had everything under control. His boss, listening through telepathy, warned him not to underestimate Matthias and told him to stay at long range. Following orders like a scared little intern, the demon fired spirit spheres at Matthias. Matthias dodged them with the same energy he would dodge chores. The demon tried to lure Matthias into a trap, but Luri disabled the hidden seals connected to the Dragon Vein from far away. The demon froze, confused about why his perfect plan blew up in his face. Before he could beg for help, Matthias cut off his telepathy link like a blocked spam call. Matthias launched a flurry of attacks, but the demon kept deflecting with his special shield, crafted specifically to block Crest of Failure spells. So Matthias flooded the battlefield with attacks, blinded his vision, and used that opening to smash the barrier with his sword. Panicking, the demon reached out to his boss for backup, asking if Matthias was actually the reincarnation of the legendary sage Gaius. Matthias overheard the panic and complimented them for finally figuring out something smart. He never expected anyone to guess his secret that easily. The demon boss still refused to believe it, saying that if Matthias really were Gaius, he would have wiped them out already. The boss ordered his demon to go all out. The demon sacrificed his life for a final power-up, but even with that cheat code, he stood zero chance. Matthias removed his head in one clean motion. With the demon gone, the dragon vein stabilized, and all the monsters in the city vanished instantly. Matthias praised the girls for doing their parts perfectly and said only one task remained: track down the demon boss hiding in the shadows. Right then, the demon boss hacked into Matthias's communication spell and mocked him, saying Matthias wouldn't find him even if he tried for 1,000 years. Matthias calmly promised to defeat him. The demon just laughed and said he'd have to find him first. Matthias recorded the demon's magic signature and planned to locate him using a device he built thousands of years ago. But that machine was across the border in the Rodinia Alliance. For that, they would need the king's permission, so they headed back to the capital. When they returned, they were shocked to see their entire academy reduced to rubble. Headmaster Edward rushed in, emotional to see his students alive. When Matthias asked what happened, the headmaster explained they were reinforcing the new academy like a fortress. After the demon incidents, he wanted something that even monsters couldn't invade. Since the building was under construction, Matthias asked where the students were. Edward said the first academy was hosting their classes now that its corrupt old headmaster had been kicked out. The two academies were finally working together. Inside Edward's office, Matthias told him about the demon controlling the Dungeon City Lord. To find him, Matthias needed access to his ancient device inside Rodinia. Edward agreed the king would approve since demons were involved again. Soon, the royal permission arrived and the party headed to the Rodinia Alliance. The girls were excited, since they'd never left the kingdom before and were already praying for good food over there. Using the king's permit, they cleared every border checkpoint and reached the vast meadows of Rodinia. Matthias checked the map and found that the device was in a restricted zone due to magical disasters. Authorized personnel could enter, but only if they held A-rank adventurer status. So they visited the Adventurers Guild. The guildmaster already knew they were coming because the king had warned him. He welcomed them and explained the only way to the restricted region was by taking the A-rank ascension test. The test required fighting a proctor, and today's proctor happened to be Geloas, a famous S-rank adventurer. The guildmaster was shocked because someone else was supposed to handle their exam, meaning Geloas personally came just to meet them. Matthias didn't care. He said he'd beat whoever they put in front of him. The guildmaster tried to warn him that no one had ever passed Geloas' tests. Still, Matthias insisted. At the training grounds, Geloas evaluated the girls first, then simply let all three pass without even fighting them. Matthias was confused and wondered what game this man was playing. It became obvious Geloas only cared about fighting Matthias. They entered the arena and Matthias prepared to see what an S-rank adventurer could actually do. Geloas stretched, ready to go all out. Meanwhile, Matthias's friends watched nervously from the stands. Even though they knew Matthias was overpowered, the idea of him fighting an S rank still made them anxious. Before starting, Geloas announced he wouldn't use magic during the fight at all. He said Matthias could use magic if he wanted, but Geloas would fight with pure strength. And the duel began. Matthias quickly realized Geloas wasn't trying to be noble by taking a handicap. The guy genuinely believed he didn't need magic to win, but the clown didn't even notice he was using enhancement spells out of habit. Still, the duel kicked off with both of them going full speed. Their blows shook the arena and for a moment it looked like they were evenly matched. Then Geloas noticed that Matthias was holding back, and it offended him on a spiritual level. He demanded Matthias stop pretending. So Matthias actually tried a little, and Geloas immediately powered up again, adapting to Matthias's skills like a human copy machine. Geloas even used Matthias's own techniques to confuse him, proving he had talent, but also zero originality. Matthias finally put him in his place and knocked him out clean, passing the A-rank ascension test. He then realized the true reason Geloas avoided magic. The guy didn't know how to use it. Bro was an S-rank adventurer with caveman-level spellcasting. Feeling generous, Matthias handed him a spellbook. Geloas opened it and instantly got a headache so bad it looked like his brain was melting. He begged Matthias for a spell to fix that, so Matthias taught him a tiny beginner's healing spell meant for headaches. Anyway, Matthias left with the team now that they were officially A-rank. Before they went to the restricted area of Fokia, Geloas warned them that the place was shady and adventurer parties had been disappearing there for months. Nothing suspicious at all. On their way through the checkpoints, the guards handed them coded passes. Matthias decoded them instantly, realizing the message basically said 4 suspicious high-ranking adventurers were coming and needed to be eliminated on sight. The code was similar to the ones demons used, meaning the entire restricted region was compromised. Right on cue, mercenaries appeared in the distance to ambush them. Since Geloas had warned them about missing adventurer groups, Matthias guessed demons were behind these assassinations. He didn't want loud fights, so he came up with a stealth plan. He handed Luri and Alma a magic item and told them to sneak behind the mercenaries and use it. To help them, he also projected illusion copies of the girls to distract the enemies. Once the mercenaries opened fire on Matthias and Iris, Luri activated the magic tool and released knockout gas across the area. Unfortunately, both girls forgot they could be affected too, and they immediately fell asleep like idiots. Thankfully, Matthias grabbed them before they face-planted. Arriving in Fokia, Matthias instantly sensed demonic signatures everywhere. Luri counted around 30 of them, which made her ask why demons were suddenly multiplying like rabbits. Matthias explained these weren't normal demons. demons. They were demi-demons, rare variants that actually worked in groups instead of backstabbing each other. Matthias searched for an entrance and found a hidden passage that dumped them straight into a sewer. The smell alone could defeat a small army, but they pushed forward anyway. A demon guard patrolled ahead, so Matthias dulled his senses with a stupefaction spell and slipped past without raising any alarms. When they entered the city, it looked populated but unsettling. The townsfolk moved like hollow zombies. Matthias realized they were under thought paralysis, a stupefaction spell meant to shut down human awareness. Luri guessed the demi-demons were behind it, and Matthias agreed, deciding to fix the city before retrieving his ancient device. All the townspeople were being herded toward a factory. Inside, a demon was bombarding them with thought paralysis while they refined glowing ore. Matthias recognized the ore instantly. It was the type used to create kingdom-wiping explosives. Thankfully, refining them took decades, so nothing was about to explode yet. When Luri asked what they should do, Matthias replied that the plan was simple: wipe out every demi-demon in this cursed city. But they needed the demons separated first, since these monsters shared a hive-mind consciousness. Matthias created a perfect trap. He released a huge magical signature outside the city. The demons swarmed there, expecting prey, but found the area empty except for Iris. Before they could react, Matthias ambushed them one by one, picking them off like a bored hitman. Meanwhile, Luri and Alma moved through the alleyways, making noise to keep the remaining demons from grouping together. Iris's magic signature acted like bait, pulling them in one by one. Matthias and Iris cleaned up the first wave easily. When Iris blasted through more of them, a few demons panicked and tried to retreat. Matthias didn't allow it and executed them before they got away. With 8 demidemons already down, Matthias predicted their leader would assume Iris was the one hunting them. And that was exactly how Matthias wanted the game to play out. Matthias kept the demon massacre going by telling Luri and Alma to throw magi stones packed with mini explosion spells. The blasts made the injured demidemons stumble around like drunk pigeons, giving Matthias the perfect opening to finish them from behind. Meanwhile, the demidemon leader was losing brain cells trying to understand what was happening. Because all their minds were linked, Matthias fed the leader fake information until the guy genuinely believed the entire city was covered in deadly traps. The paranoid idiot ordered his squad to use detection spells everywhere. After 22 kills, the leader finally inspected a corpse and found 2 magic signatures on it. That's when he realized Iris wasn't alone. Someone else was hiding and slapping demons around. The surviving troops started grouping up, meaning their little rat brains finally connected the dots. Matthias ditched the slow plan and marched straight toward them for a real fight. The leader told his remaining demons to ignore everyone except the hidden assassin, saying once they killed Matthias, revenge would be complete. Then, in a moment of pure villain stupidity, he decided to use the dangerous explosive ores to wipe out Matthias's party. Before the demons could fetch them, Gelois crashed into the battlefield like a one-man DLC character and started slicing demons left and right. He even faced the demon leader alone and acted confident despite being surrounded like a discount hero. Matthias arrived and cleaned up the demons behind him, with Iris swooping in to help as well. Soon, only the leader remained. Gelois fought him with everything he had, but the man was clearly not a protagonist. He got smacked around hard. Matthias tried to help, but Gelois refused assistance and revealed he had finally learned a spell from Matthias's spellbook. He used it in a flashy final strike. Both of them took heavy damage, but Gelois actually won and dropped the leader. The townspeople were freed from the curse, but then the supposedly dead leader got up again like a final boss with paid DLC. Matthias was confused because the demon was absolutely dead moments ago. That's when the true boss hijacked the corpse like a demonic voicemail. The big boss explained he wasn't fully revived yet, but would break the seal soon. Then he disappeared, leaving the body to collapse. Matthias turned to treat Gelois, who was bleeding like he had fought a whole war by himself. After patching him up, Gelois stood proudly and announced himself as an S-rank adventurer, calming the townspeople. He immediately started acting like a mayor, appointed random people as sub-leaders, and even picked a provisional lord at random. Matthias could tell Gelois did not care about politics. He just wanted to look cool. With the town under control, Matthias's group said their goodbyes and continued toward the ancient locator device. They reached a ruin deep inside the Forbidden Zone. Matthias opened a hidden entrance and led the group inside. While he activated the ancient device, the others looted like goblins. Luri found a cool-looking sword that had 0 magic because Matthias forged it in his past life just for fun. Alma found a dangerous spell that could literally evaporate the user if they used too much energy. Iris found canned food from 1,000 years ago, opened it, and passed out from the smell. What did she expect? Gourmet soup? Matthias activated the machine using metal he gathered from Fokia and traced the magic signature. It matched the demon who caused the chaos in both Melkia and Fokia. The boss behind it all had one goal: total human extinction. Matthias used the demon's signature to locate him, but the machine started glitching. Because the demon was still partially sealed, the tracker couldn't focus. Then the system displayed an image, and Matthias froze. He recognized the demon instantly. Zardius, an ancient monster he fought in his past life. Matthias knew the truth. Zardius wasn't just strong, he was apocalyptic. Even if Matthias trained for hundreds of years, the world would probably end before they ever got strong enough to beat him. The only hope was the powerful magic weapons Matthias created in his past life, now scattered across the world. He detected one of them in the Ice Kingdom and decided to head back to the capital. But on the way, Zardias's aura erupted across the sky, making Iris shake violently. That meant only one thing: the seal was fully broken. Matthias knew Zardias would come straight for him since he was the only threat left. He told Luri and Alma to retrieve the magic sword while he stayed behind with Iris to face Zardias. Matthias enhanced his blade and prepared for the first strike. As the girls reached the capital, the sky split open. Zardias descended from a portal like a nightmare. Iris fired her strongest blast immediately, and it did nothing, not even a scratch. Iris's full power blast didn't hurt Zardias at all. Instead, it basically acted like his morning alarm, helping the Demon Lord wake up feeling fresh. Matthias watched this monster stretch like he just got out of bed and had one burning question in his mind. How was he supposed to fight someone literally built like an unkillable nightmare? For now, Matthias tried stalling to buy Luri and Alma time to bring back the overpowered weapon. But Zardias didn't care about conversations or dramatic speeches. He pulled out his blade and went straight for Iris, planning to slice her clean in half. Matthias jumped in front and used his strongest defense spell, but exposing himself like that left him completely open. Meanwhile, Luri and Alma sprinted toward the royal treasury with the king's permission. Down on the battlefield, Matthias already accepted that he stood zero chance in a fair fight. He even considered sacrificing himself to protect humanity. Up in the treasury, the girls rummaged through piles of ancient items with no idea what the legendary weapon even looked like, wasting precious time. Luri eventually found a strange black box humming with Matthias's magic signature. She opened it and discovered the weapon they needed. But before they could return, Zardias resurrected the demon who died inside the capital to block their way. Alma and Luri managed to defeat him, but another demon showed up holding 2 students hostage, threatening to decapitate them if the girls didn't surrender. Matthias realized Zardias had revived every demon corpse in the capital just to hurt the girls and break his focus. The Demon Lord already figured out Matthias's 2 priorities: protecting the barrier and protecting his friends. So Zardias targeted both at once, forcing Matthias into total defense mode while taking brutal hits. Luri and Alma dropped their weapons to save the students. Matthias saw they wouldn't make it back fast enough, so he prepared to sacrifice himself by channeling the last of his life into a reincarnation spell, ready to die again. He didn't even consider the fact that if humanity got wiped out, he'd have no body to reincarnate into. Just then, the entire Second Academy arrived to back up Luri and Alma. With their help, the girls defeated the demon and charged toward Matthias's location. Back on the battlefield, Matthias burned his life force to boost his magic. He still believed Luri and Alma would reach him in time, so to stall Zardias, he had Iris fire another dragon breath. But before she could finish, Zardias used a counterspell and forced her back into human form. She fell from the sky, leaving Matthias alone against the Demon Lord. Luri finally reached him and threw the God Sword. Matthias caught it and smiled in relief, then immediately got stabbed through the back. Zardias pulled his blade out and let Matthias fall like dead weight, but anime logic refused to let him die. Matthias turned into a glowing orb and revived himself thanks to the ridiculous cheat ability of the God Sword. Apparently, this weapon was the crown jewel of his past life, and its activation required the wielder to literally die once. In exchange, the sword revived the user and filled them with insane magic power. Now boosted by the God Sword, Matthias became faster than Zardias could track. His body trembled because he could barely contain the overwhelming magic, but he pushed through. Zardias believed Matthias's body would collapse under the pressure, but Matthias explained he could even reanimate himself if needed, just like Zardias did with his minions. The Demon Lord demanded to know Matthias's true identity, shocked that a kid knew forbidden techniques. Matthias refused to explain and simply declared himself the strongest sage with the weakest crest. Then, using one perfect strike, he decapitated Zardias. As the Demon Lord crumbled away, he warned Matthias that more demons like him would rise and destroy humanity. With the threat gone, Matthias landed and was immediately hugged by Luri, who practically launched herself at him, relieved her unofficial husband wasn't dead. She leaned in for a kiss, but the headmaster walked in at the worst moment possible, destroying the mood instantly. Matthias greeted everyone and offered to help fix all the destruction he caused during the battle. Before that, he tossed away the God Sword, since it was a one-time use weapon anyway. Later, the king summoned Matthias's party, rewarded Matthias with the God Sword, which he had already broken, and gave all 4 of them free access to the royal treasury. Alma instantly asked for money, because of course she did. Inside the treasury, Matthias found an adamantite arrow, perfect for Alma, but the matching bow had already been sold to a scrap metal shop. He went there, only to find out the shop owner melted the bow into random metal blocks. Matthias still bought the blocks, hoping to extract the adamantite later. Iris took interest in some shiny stones, so Matthias bought those too. He gifted everyone something, except the girl he was supposed to gift, Luri. Alma pushed him to stop being dumb and buy something nice for her. Matthias secretly bought a crystal chunk and left the store. As soon as he stepped outside, the headmaster dragged him to the castle for an urgent issue. The Night Order captain showed him a human-sized puppet armed with blades. 300 of these puppets had appeared in the neighboring empire, causing chaos. Matthias found out they were powered by human life energy and immediately concluded that another demon was behind it. Once again, he accepted the mission to stop these never-ending demon problems. Later that night, he met Luri under the moonlight and told her to close her eyes. She expected a kiss, but Matthias instead placed a pendant he crafted using the jewel around her neck. She clutched it happily, promising to treasure it forever. The next morning, the new heroes headed toward the Sahil Empire, but their journey and their headaches were far from over. And that wraps up this absolute madness. If you survive till the end, you're a certified legend. Now let's confuse every fake fan lurking in the comments. Drop, he revived from pure plot armor. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and brace yourselves, because the next recap is going to blow this one out of the water.